All right, guys, welcome back again to the channel. Happy weekend to everyone in the community. I hope you guys had a great day. So, as usual, back again to let you know some of the stories as they concern the Super Eagles of Nigeria. I have some sort of good news, for especially Nigerian fans, Benin Republic fans, maybe even Rwandan fans, because it seems like they still have a chance, or a shot at trying to qualify in the Group C of the World Cup qualifying series. Of course, South Africa topped the group with 17 points amid a huge call from other teams in the group for FIFA or CAF to come in and slash 3 points and minus three goal from South African team because of the fact that they fielded a player that was not supposed to be fielded in the first leg of the Lesotho game. That was a couple months ago, not this previous one that was played there recently. So this is obviously what part of what I wanted to talk about in this video, and uh, it might be good news. I don't want to rush, but as it stands now, a few hours ago, was that I think yesterday, we saw that FIFA had deducted 3 points and three goals from Equatorial Guinea, who fielded an ineligible player in one of their World Cup qualifying series, and this might actually set a chain of action in other groups, in other groups who have violated that rule. So what this means is that FIFA might well touch in the Group C and then reduce the 3 points and minus three go from the South African team. That is what is very eminent right now. I know South African fans who are following me on this channel, they'll probably not like this because I notice I've been getting, a few South Africans here and there on the channel. But I mean, the truth needs to be told. You guys are doing great. You guys are informed, possibly the most informed team in the Group C. To be honest, I admired South African team a lot, especially how they've been able to build a very strong team, a team that can actually compete using mostly the local stars and harnessing their potentials, and they're actually representing the country, on an international level. And if everything goes well for them, they might actually even qualify. As a matter of fact, they are, uh, the ones that have maybe 85% of chances of qualifying in the Group C right now. They're ahead of all the other teams. So what I think is it might actually get tomorrow. Now might wake up and we get to see that FIFA has reduced 3 points and then three minus three goals from their group, and it will not surprise me because obviously they've already started doing it. As I just said, now Equatorial Guinea have been slapped with that punishment because of fielding ineligible player. So our waits might be coming to an end, in the Group C. And if this happens, obviously, you know what that means. South Africa will drop from 17 points to 14 points. And then they'll be tied in points with uh, Benin Republic, which now kind of makes it very or slightly open for, a few of the other teams. Nigeria are in third position, right? Third position with 11 points. And then they have two games remaining. So it's going to be an open tie, particularly for Benin Republic and South Africa to vie for that top spot, you know, uh, in the coming months. We have, the final round of games coming up in October, two games, which are the final games. So if it makes sense actually that FIFA are looking into the issues in each of these groups and trying to sort it out before the final rounds, because if they don't sort it out now, then obviously there won't be any chance for anyone to complain. You have to rest your case and just surrender if it's not being attended within this little space that we have, before these last two games are being played in October. So this is what we might actually see happen. So South African fans, I'm sorry, but this is what will, eventually happen to you from what we are seeing happening right now, in other groups. So let me know what you think about it, guys. Of course, I don't have any animosity with the South African team. As I said, I envy them a lot. But I think that if you have to win, right? If you have to be the first in the group, you have to do it in a very credible way, in a very objective way, in a very just way, right? If you broke the rule, you have to be punished. The same thing as Nigeria. I remember, the 3 or 4 years ago, we did that in the qualifiers. We were punished by, the organizers reducing 3 points and minus 3 goals. But what made it a bit easier for us was that we had already qualified. So that point deduction at that period didn't really affect us much. So if you have to qualify as the top, nation of the group, you have to do it in the right way. This is just the problem I have, because obviously we have other countries who are trying to, get that ticket as well. Benin Republic, I just want to react to this from a neutral standpoint. Benin Republic is a country that they're actually really, fighting to also get the ticket. I'm not talking about Nigeria right now because it may seem like I'm siding Nigeria because I'm a Nigerian and this is a Nigerian Super Eagles channel. But what about the other teams that are really fighting as well for this group? So that is what's happening. Let me know what you think about it. You think it's unfair to South Africa that they are now being faced with this charge of 3 points being deducted from their entire 17 points? Do you feel that FIFA, shouldn't do it, or they should go ahead and do it? Because obviously, it's something that everyone had been waiting for the long time. I'm sure Gernot Rohr is going to be one happy man once this is done. He's going to be very happy because, trust me, this man has been calling out for FIFA, CAF, whatever it is, all these top bodies. He has been speaking out every chance he gets to do an interview. He talks about it, he pleads, he shouts, he quarrels, he does whatever he can to make sure that he gets the attention of these people. And once this happens, I'm sure he's going to be a very, very happy man, because obviously it's going to give he and Benin Republic a chance at qualifying straight by topping the group. That's like the only way you avoid the whole stress. Qualifying as the top of the group, you have a ticket automatically. But anything short of that, then you're going to have to, try to meet the playoff, and then you vie for two more tickets from the playoff spot, and that is, obviously very, very difficult. It's more difficult than, qualifying outrightly by leading the group. But let me know your reactions, guys. Of course, we saw a couple of Nigerian Super Eagles players make their appearances today in the EPL. A lot of them were trusted into the action in a very brutal way. It was like them, being given a baptism of fire in the EPL. Especially to Laura Kodare, who's Wolverhampton Wanderers, had to play Newcastle United. These guys that you obviously know have huge, huge defenders, almost 7 feet foot tall. Dan Bond, you have Shah, you have all of these guys, very huge guys. Of course, Tula Kodare is also a big man, but it was a very difficult game for him. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to get his goal on the debut, but I think they had a very decent result. Obviously because um, they walked away with 1 point in that one because it ended. No, they actually lost that game. Sorry, they lost that game, courtesy of a lone goal uh, scored by Watemade, another man that made his debut for Newcastle United. Arokodare played for 66 minutes and then was substituted for Arias. In the same vein, we also saw the likes of um, Uche Crisantos making his appearance for Crystal Palace. He was introduced in the second half of the match, but sadly, they couldn't really get anything from that one because it ended 0-0. But there was a huge, huge penalty call towards the end of the game where Uche Crisantos appeared to have been fouled, but unfortunately, a penalty was not given. But after that match, his coach came out and was complaining bitterly. Oliver Glasner was talking about how it was unfair that Uche was clearly fouled in the penalty box, and the referee, the VAR team, they failed to give that a penalty. And then for Fulham, Fulham came home with a very slim victory. 1-0 was the scoreline in their match versus Leeds. But we couldn't see Samuel Chukwueze make his debut in that game. But we saw Alex Iwobi and Kevin Bassey obviously starting as usual for this Fulham side. So that is how it went for a lot of these players. Of course, They had their debut, so obviously it was going to be difficult, but we expect them to settle in, better from next week when they will have acclimatized themselves, in this league. But I just wanted to end with some gist concerning Ademola Lookman right now. Previous video I made, I told you guys that Atlanta are not pressing any charges. They've accepted him, like a prodigal son, and are willing to integrate him back into the squad. But the latest statement coming from the coach, Ivan Juric, is indicating that maybe the issue is not quite settled as we thought it had been settled. Because Ademola Lookman was not included in the squad to play Leeds tomorrow being Sunday. And then the coach has come out to say these statements, which I look at it and I'm thinking there might still be some bad air, existing between maybe the coach or the club at this point. But I'm just going to read what the coach has said about Ademola Lookman. He said, this is an unpleasant, difficult situation. As a coach, what I feel is that we need other things: spirit, fight, humility, work, a sense of belonging. On a human level, I want something different. I want a different sense of belonging, and we'll continue like this. I have a very good relationship with Lukman, but I don't have to beg him to play. It works the other way round. We are Atlanta, and he represents the city. What Atlanta represents is what we need: hard work, humility. These are different values. I don't have to beg anyone. We all believe that Atlanta needs strong human values. So, from this, quote from the coach, I don't know, it's as if he's implying that Ademola Lookman is doing guy, that they should beg him for him to play. That's what the coach is trying to say with this statement, which obviously I cannot even start to think about. I cannot even believe that. Don't want to even believe that Ademola Lookman is doing guy, for Atlanta, or that he wants them to beg him, because at the end of the day, the club is always bigger than the player, and the value, the as the coach said, the humility and everything has to be in place, at the end of the day. But I mean, it's still early. It's still early days. Of course, I don't want to make too much fuss about it. If they play this Sunday game against Leeds, we'll have to see as the week progresses what really happens in training, their next game, and things like that before we know, where Ademola Lookman stands with this Atlanta team. That is the update, guys. Make sure to leave your reaction concerning this imminent point deduction from the South African team. Are you happy that this is finally going to happen, or you're just indifferent about the whole situation?